Hello everyone, Robin Higgins here, and in this video I'll be going over how I designed my new LinkedIn banner. Here's the final design. My first one started out looking like this, and I think it's a pretty big improvement. So in case you are doing LinkedIn stuff, I just wanted to give you all the little tweaks and specific things that I made sure to think about for my company when I was making this banner. So here's the one I had before my revamp. It's okay, it's doing some things right, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. The number one thing I'm thinking about for online content is usually the first second impression, even less than 1 second impression technically. Just like, what does your eye see when you glance at it for a second? If you are new to designing things online, that's probably the biggest advantage you can start incorporating, is really start thinking to yourself, what would I know about this if I only had literally 1 second to observe it? And so with that, I think that what this does well is it has some bold, large text in the middle, but you're busy, don't know where to start, and maybe a little scared. So I feel like this does grab people's attention, and if they get to the point where they read social strategy training for business owners, blah, blah, then that's great. They kind of know what I do. But I think realistically, it's fair to expect that a lot of people would kind of glance over this large text and not understand what my company did at the end of it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I wanted to address. So here's my first draft, and I really just forced myself to do this because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know exactly what I wanted different from this one. So my company is called the Idea Galaxy. Pretty simple connection to think, what if I used galaxy imagery? So I made some with Midjourney, threw it in the background. And then like I was saying, I wanted to be a lot more specific with what my company actually does. So I just tried some placeholder text that I've used in other marketing areas of my business, where I just go, ready to finally tackle social for your art or business. What I like about this is that it's really clear. Since social media is such a big category, a lot of what I've been trying to do in general is to target exactly who I'm trying to speak to. And I'm really trying to talk to people who want to promote their art on social media or their business. So at least this has this. Obviously, not great design, right? From here, I tried another design that's very similar just to see some options. I made it a little bit of a lighter galaxy. I was like, I don't know if the dark colors are working for me. And I hadn't adjusted for the profile picture yet. So with this next draft, I was just trying to get more specific. I was like, if someone comes to my LinkedIn and all they're gonna look at is this banner, how can I make sure they really understand what my entire company does just through the banner? So this was the next series of attempts that I did to kind of achieve that goal. Do you hate social media? Do you need to be on it anyway? Try a friendly class and accountability group. So I was feeling pretty good about this. I think that it's clear. If you get through all of it, you would really understand what I'm offering. This was also the draft that made me realize I definitely did not want to use galaxy imagery. I hadn't really realized it before I made these mock-ups, but everything with a galaxy was just giving like spiritual, mystical advice. I hadn't really realized how ubiquitous that branding is on the internet of galaxy imagery being like, do you want to know the secrets of the universe? Are you ready to unlock your mind? And that's totally off base from the professional image I'm trying to represent. So I decided to ditch galaxy imagery. I'm not a super professional designer. I just know how to use Photoshop. I'm self-taught. And I've found that just getting your first guess is always super helpful because it allows you to pivot. I didn't necessarily think the galaxy was an amazing idea, but once I saw it up there, I was like, no, absolutely not. I need to be professional. And then for my next draft, I really tried to scale things back, just use black and white. It doesn't really get more classy and elegant than that. And again, I was playing around with the words saying, how can I get people to look at this banner and understand what I'm offering? Part of that is that it needs to be interesting and eye-grabbing. So I thought with this split level, I did like this. Unfortunately, you pretty much have to be on social media. Fortunately, I lead affordable small group boot camps and accountability groups. I was feeling pretty good about this messaging, but I did think to myself, maybe I've actually pulled it back way too much. Again, if you think someone's looking at this for only 1 second, and then based off of that 1 second impression, they're deciding to look for another second or not. I was like, just black and white right here, and then the unfortunately and fortunately, that's really clear. But honestly, if I'm just looking for 1 second, I actually would have no idea what this LinkedIn account did. I needed something more visual to kind of hook people in, because I can't rely on people reading every single word that I have on here. So this is where I decided to start pulling in emojis, and I thought this was a good compromise because I was like, okay, so it allows me to keep the main design kind of elegant, just black, white, but when you see emojis, you know it's either more emotional, about social media, a little bit more fun, and that all kind of seemed right. You can also see between this image and the previous one, I went back ahead and added if you're a business owner or artist. I just decided I can't drop that. If I just say I'm a generic social media helper, I'm never going to be attracting the business owners and artists that I need to be. And also at this point in the design, I've been looking at other LinkedIn accounts, people that I admire, and I had realized that unfortunately, I wasn't going to be able to do something that a lot of them did, which was keep the words to a minimum. I was like, to explain what I do, it's going to be wordy. And I kind of accepted that as one of the flaws of my design. And so the rest of the passes were kind of like, we're going to have these words in here. How can we get people to read them? And how can we make them as little and as specific as possible? So my next pass was going in and adding even more of an emotional vibe. I was like, if you see this, and it just kind of your eye glosses over it and you're not exactly sure if you're gonna read more, maybe if you see this, you'll really see the contrast. And it's like something bad, something good. I do think that this achieved that goal, and I think this is a bold and interesting design that's eye-catching. The problem is that it just looks really jokey. It doesn't look professional. It kind of looks like a cartoon or childish. It's too much going on, you know? I was happy that I tried it, but I was ultimately like, no, I gotta scale back after this. So here's what my first scaled back attempt looked like. And this is pretty close to the final product. I just started tweaking after this. But once I got here, I really felt happy. I was like, okay, this is doing a lot of things right. One thing I had found from all of these drafts is, again, the business owner and the artist thing. So going all the way back to my original design, which was this, I really felt like people would look straight at that big, bold text in the middle and read that. So again, with the 1 second test, if I could only have people glance at one part of my design, I wanted it to be business owner or artist. I was kind of thinking more than social media help or anything about me or my business. What's really gonna get people to look and to stay is if they recognize themselves and go, oh, this could be useful for me. And at that same token, if you're not in one of these two categories, my services really aren't right for you, so you can feel free to leave. So big, bold, and the first text that you're going to see is business owner or artist. So I felt confident with that. And then for many drafts, I'd also had this unfortunately and fortunately thing kind of going on. I think that that helps people read just a little bit of story structure. Like if I'm seeing unfortunately, what's fortunately gonna be? So I kept that, and I kept the emojis that I really like. And at this point, I also made sure that I was going to add my CTA. Again, the whole point of this LinkedIn is to drive people to sign up for my newsletter, find out more about me. So really eye-popping. If your eye does start here at the left and then goes towards the text and gets to the right-hand side, you're going to understand what I'm offering you. I'm offering you this free 60-minute training. From here, I sat with the design, looked at things that I liked, and looked at things that I really wanted to have that weren't quite here yet. At first, I just moved the spacing around. And the next draft, I reduced the shadows a little bit so that it was more legible overall. And at this point, I was pretty happy with the design, except there's one thing that always makes me really impressed whenever I see a LinkedIn banner, and that's if it can incorporate how the profile picture sticks up on top of it in an interesting way. And so I said, okay, I've got all this blank space right here. It says my logo right here. And I was like, what can I do? Because my featured link is all about sending people to my free hour-long video, I decided to pull in some imagery from that. So you can see that whole video kind of has this imagery of like the tantalizing social media with the hand reaching out over the treasure chest. And so for my last draft, I pulled in that same image of a hand, got rid of my logo, and then added the phone with the glowing kind of social media icons. So this is my final design for now. I think we can all agree it's way stronger than this, my original design. I think if you're glancing at this banner, what I really like about it is one, that unique incorporation of the graphic with the profile picture underneath it, so nothing's getting cut off. And also an added benefit that I noticed was that having these social media icons really helped people, I think, again, understand very quickly this page is about social media. If I'm here, it's for these apps and websites. After that, your eye flows pretty quickly to business owner or artist. Again, that is the most important thing for people to understand when they come to my page, because I really want my potential customers to understand that I'm speaking to them. And then if you've seen all this and you're tantalized to keep going, you can get to, unfortunately, it's almost mandatory to be on social media. I'm trying to reach out to you, say I get it. Fortunately, I lead affordable small group boot camps and accountability groups. And then my big CTA in the complete opposite color scheme, so you can't miss it. Get my free 60-minute training. All right, I hope this was helpful to you designing your own LinkedIn banner. Good luck. I will leave a link to my free 60-minute training in the description of this video in case you want to check that out. And good luck out there in the algorithm.